You know, I was this close to turning over a new leaf and trusting humanity and wanting to mingle with the outside world so that I could have some friends. It's 2025. Everybody's still going with their yearly goals. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, maybe this will be the year I bring the walls down and start to loosen up on the shield and start trusting more humans again. But then I remembered something. Trusting humans is a dangerous game because how do any people actually consider trusting other people who drastically smell like mustard and put ketchup in the refrigerator? It is a dangerous game that I could never truly get behind. And I was sitting here contemplating, wondering if I was going to get an example that could either prove that I can trust humans or prove that I shouldn't trust them. And oh, the world giveth me what I wanted. Imagine a scenario where you watching this right now are a hard-working individual to the point where you finally see a little bit of success, to the point where you could purchase a home, and you purchase that home and you live there for who knows, let's just say for the sake of the conversation, 6 months, and you're still relatively new to the area, and you're coming home and you have a brief interaction with somebody who's on your front porch, and they accuse you just a little bit slightly of following them and their children because the woman, it's a woman by the way, carrying children, and she's a little bit concerned, and she asks you, hey, do you live here? And you say, yes, I do live here. And she responds, I don't believe you, and runs up the block screaming, help, help, help. Wouldn't you think, wow, not really gonna trust humans after that? Don't answer that just yet. Watch it play out.
Knock on the doorbell. Ring doorbell. We need you. What's going on?
Do you live here?
Yeah.
You do?
Papa.
I don't believe that.
What?
I don't believe that.
So what are you doing here?
Rory, come on. Rory, come on.
Hey.
Did someone come here?
That was my wife. Somebody chased her up here. And she had kids.
Who chased her?
She said somebody in a silver
guy
truck.
in a gray truck, and he came around the corner,
I don't know if you guys have a
I was
rule.
in the street, and so I come up, and I just got my kids, and so I'm like gonna pretend that I'm coming home, and so I pull up and I start walking to your back gate, and he stops here and he goes, "Are you looking for someone?" And I said, "Nope," and then he sat here, and I was like, "I need to get in."
Well, that's my husband. That's why he lives here. Yeah. He lives here. So he came in and he said there's a lady screaming, and I'm like, that's...
She got all worried. There's some.
I'm scared the crap out of me.
How?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
How did he scare you,
I
though?
had a feel.
I just seen her in the driveway and I was like, are you looking for somebody? Because I was pulling up out
And I
home.
saw someone walking in our driveway, too, and I'm like, why is someone walking in our driveway?
Well, I'm
Well,
sorry.
there we got it. All right, sorry.
What?
I
She said that someone was following her. So you were walking from there?
You came this way, didn't you?
No, I came down this street right here.
Yeah.
And I was riding slow because I'm looking at our Christmas lights.
Well, you just have to understand my point of view. Being by myself with 2 kids, I just saw a car coming, and so I was like, oh, it scared me, and so I just pulled up here, and I kept thinking, this could be his house. But you didn't say, this is my home. You just said, are you looking? And I was like,
I did. When you was on the porch, you asked me, did I live here? I said, yeah.
And you said, no, you don't.
And you said, I don't think you do.
It was obviously you could tell that I was really caught off guard.
Like I'm pulling in my, it's like I'm pulling in my house. Like this is not, this neighborhood is probably one of the best neighborhoods in Ohio.
It is.
I don't, you don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Well, I'm very sorry. I really hope that you're not upset with me.
Come on, baby, go in the house. Let's go.
You told me that I didn't. You said you didn't think I lived here.
It was the way that you were talking. I was so caught off guard. I'm so sorry.
I'm watching this and I'm a little bit fucking annoyed because I know in some scenarios there are going to be people who will say, well, he should be showing proof that he lives there. If he says, after being asked, do you live there? And he says, yes, and the response immediately is, I don't believe you. I'm sorry to burst the bubble of a lot of people who think this is Candyland. There's nothing that motherfucker could do at that point, because any sudden move he makes is going to lead to this motherfucker running up the street screaming help, 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 and getting this motherfucker in a bind that he knows is not comfortable for him and his wife that's sitting in the house, which is further proven when they have interactions with the woman and her husband later, and he's saying again, hey, I said I live here and you stated I don't believe you. He was in a bind that nobody could really get themselves out of in any logistical manner that would have benefited everybody and all parties involved, especially after, of course, this went viral, and because the man was black and the woman was white, we had the racial aspect, and a bunch of people, I guess, found the woman via Facebook, Instagram, any of these social medias, and they decided to hound her with a bunch of messages. She decided to explain herself, and I'm gonna be honest, before you watch it, I watched it, and I think to myself, yeah, while I understand your fear, with the rationale that's going on and even you explaining it after the fact to this man and all the context that is the beginning, middle, and end, I'm thinking you made the dumbest decision possible.
He says, this is my house. And I said, I don't think that it is. And at that point, the only reason that I said that was because truly the awkward encounter of slowing up behind me, talking to us multiple times. I'm in this frantic state. It's late at night. I got my kids, my 2 babies. The lady at the door is not answering. There's no other homes that are well established. I mean, there's construction. It's a corner house. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm on the front porch. This truck literally is halfway up the driveway. And I was like, my radar was like, nope, I don't think that this is your house. And so I said, I don't believe that this is your house. And so I'm starting to unbuckle Cash, and I grab and I freak. I go, Rory, run. And so I take off the porch and I literally run as fast as I can, screaming at the top of my lung. I'm getting all these messages. I'm so sorry. Screaming at the top of my lung. I have never, ever, ever screamed the way that I screamed. And I'm running through the front yards of everybody, praying that the Ring doorbell would capture us. Finally, to get to a woman's house, I'm bang on the door. And at this point, I'm dialing 911. And I said, can I please come in? And the woman said, yes, come in. And so I'm standing there. I'm talking to the sheriff. And more than anything, I was not looking for him to come to my rescue at this point. My husband was going to come. I'm in this woman's house. The door is closed. And I told the man, he said, do I need to come out? And I just said, no. I said, I was just calling to let you know that this just happened. My husband's going to come get me. And, he says, he asked me if I wanted him to come out. And I said, no. And so the woman then I was at her house. She literally asked me and said, she said, I don't know how to ask this. She goes, but was it a black man? Because she goes, it's a black family that lives there. And I said, no, I believe that this is a white man. He was a white man in a truck. A young white man is what I said. And she said, okay. She goes, because that's a black family that lives there. And I said, no, I don't think that it was a black man. And
like, I'm hearing your entire story. I'm hearing you talk about how you go into this other woman's house, and the woman is the hero in this scenario in my eye, because she's alerting this woman who's paranoid that she might have been followed, that that's a black family there, and you just throw it all at the ether that no, I believe that it's a white man. Your delusions were 100% incorrect, and it's embarrassing for you because now you're going to have to deal with the scrutiny of a bunch of people online who are going to fixate on this for about the next 2 days, and then they're going to get right back being mad about something else. And in my mind, it's like you colossally fucked this up because you didn't want to believe that someone lived in your neighborhood. And I understand the various fears that go on with prowlers and people being in neighborhoods they're not supposed to be in, and especially when you're with children. But when they're telling you you that they live there, and you have a second party who doesn't really know what's going on. They just know where you just came from, and they have knowledge about who lives there, and they're telling you the same exact thing, and you're still not believing that. That's on you, no one else.
Then, when my husband got there, I stood out front, and we're still trying to get the Ring doorbell footage of me talking to my husband. But he asked me again, he said, what house was it? And I said, it was this house right here. And he goes, are you sure it wasn't a black guy? He goes, because that's a black family. And I said, no, I don't believe that it was a black man.
So your husband is now the second person. I'm not including the black man, but you know what? Fuck it. I'll include the black man. That's 3 people telling you who lived there, and you're the one person saying, no. I believe it was a white man. I wholeheartedly believe that this was a white man. This is why I cannot trust humanity, because you have 15 different people telling you everything is green, but you in the dead of night are saying, no, I believe it's red. You're fucking stupid.
And so we get in the car and we go to pick up the stroller. And I've said this a million times, I have never felt the fear that I had even just pulling up in front of the house when John opened the door to get out of the truck. The amount of, I've never went into like fight or flight like that before. And so he gets out of the car and he goes up to the woman's house, and a woman comes out onto the front porch, and she says something along the lines like, did you forget something or did you leave something? And John laughs and he's like, yes, we did. I'm so sorry. And I get out of the car and I walk up to the woman, and I could not tell her fast enough what had happened. She walks out on the porch, and I jump out of the car and I said, oh my gosh, yes, there was a man. And John was the one that said a man was following her, chasing her, following her is what I said. I use the word chasing, following me. And, so she said, I jumped out of the car and I said, I'm so sorry. I said, literally, I was pretending that your house was my house. I was walking up the driveway, and then I was like turning in. I was pretending that it was yours. And she goes, yeah, that was my husband. And so he ends up coming out and he's like, I told you this was my house. And at that point, I literally I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I am so sorry. And I told him, I said, I'm so sorry. And then, I said, this is your house. That was my words. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, this is your house. I said, I truly kept thinking like, maybe this is his house. Maybe this is his house. And he says, well, I told you this was your house. And I said, you have to understand. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, it was such an awkward encounter. I said, the truck was like starting to slow behind me, and I'm out here with my little girl and my son, and I said, I'm a mom, and it was dark. And he said, but I told you that this was my house. He says, I was driving slow because I was looking at my Christmas lights. And I said, I am so sorry. And they truly, they did not take my apology.
I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't accept that apology either, because how am I going to, in the moment, calm you down from your paranoia while I'm staring at my house that I bought, that I put Christmas lights on, and you are trucking about going to my front porch? We have this back and forth confrontation. You ask me if it's my house. I say yes. You don't believe me. You scurry up the street, and then 2 more people tell you that this is my house, and you still don't believe it. How could I rationalize forgiving you? Because in the front, middle and back of my mind, I'm thinking, if I didn't have a Ring camera, somebody's getting arrested via lack of evidence and a story that a woman's being followed by a truck, which ultimately screws me, because even though I got a bunch of people saying, hey, this is his house, this is where a black family lives, I still got to run the risk of being scrutinized by the public, because a bunch of people are going to think, oh, I followed some random woman and her children and tried to maybe do some harm to them. That is how you ruin somebody's public image. That is what a bunch of people don't want in their life. And by the grace of God, these motherfuckers had a Ring camera to help show any form of evidence that this bitch really wasn't going to accept any form of credentials to prove that this man owned this house. She was just paranoid to the point she was going to run up the street and start screaming, help me, help me, help me. And I understand being a mom, being a parent in that scenario, But the counter is, what the fuck was this dude gonna do to prove to this bitch, hey, this is where I live? Because it was clear as day, nothing was gonna help, especially when you tell her the truth and that, hey, I live here. I don't really believe you.
And that night, I went home. And so if you guys saw on Instagram, I shared the story twice. The only reason that I shared the story is because I was heartbroken and it was a really scary night. I've always shared everything on Instagram. And so that night, after that whole instance happened, I literally was sitting on the steps, first of all, and John kept trying to talk to me. I kept telling him I was so sorry. And I've never, just the panic. I literally could not come down from this fight or flight. From the time that I was at the woman's house to literally 30 seconds later, telling the woman that I was just followed, to the man stepping out on the front porch and it being his house. It was all of these different emotions. And so I'm sitting at home, literally having this meltdown.
Sounds like you need to smoke some weed.
And I kept telling John I was so sorry. I felt really stupid. And so on the way home, I forgot to say that the cop was driving around our neighborhood, and I'm getting all these messages. I'm so sorry. The cop was driving around our neighborhood, and I stopped him. We stopped him, and I jumped over, rolled the window down, and I said, I am so sorry. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, it was his house. It was a misunderstanding. I'm so sorry. He was like, it's okay. I'm glad everything's fine. I was like, yes, it's fine. So I ended up, we went home. And that night when I got home, I had tears and I was making a cup of coffee. And if you guys know me, I put everything on Instagram. I talk all the time. It was an innocent mistake. I felt really stupid. I absolutely was crushed I felt like they thought I was stupid. I already felt stupid. I truly felt stupid. Like I said to them on the porch, I kept thinking maybe this is his house. And then I'm running and screaming at the top of my lungs. And so, yeah, I felt dumb for sure. So I went on Instagram, and my story, I still have it archived, and I have tears, and I'm making a cup of coffee. And I said, I was like, man, you talk about a night. I'm like, man, my night just completely took a left turn.
Damn, your night took a turn? Imagine being a homeowner, you pull up to your crib, you admiring the Christmas lights, and you got a bitch accusing you of following her around and then running up the street screaming, help, help, help. And you sitting there paranoid that somebody about to come knock on your door and say, could you come step out here? And maybe you have an interaction with the cops that don't go your way, and then you on the back of somebody's t-shirt with the hashtag long live the motherfucking guys. Damn, but I guess going back home after being publicly embarrassed and nobody forgiving you based on that really dog shit apology, and getting on Instagram and making a coffee with tears in your eyes saying, whoa, what a night. Woo, you went through it, didn't you, bitch?
And I was super scary. I was like, I'll have to fill you guys in later. So I went live that night. And then I went live again the next morning. And I have to tell you guys, I have been on social media long enough to know that there's a lot of scrutiny. And so by me going live, I did not think that I was doing anything wrong. I was sharing the story of what happened, better safe than sorry, how scary it was, just what I went through. That's the only reason that I went live. At the end, I talked about how I felt stupid and how this couple, twice I apologized and nothing came of it. And so, yeah, that crushed me. I did feel really stupid. So that is the story of that night. Many of you guys were on those lives, and so you guys know the exact emotions and state that I was in. So we are here, and it wasn't until about 2 weeks ago, maybe a little less than that, that John was sitting in the living room, and he called me the day prior, and he asked me a question about, did you ever say he said, did you tell the woman that he was black? And I said, no, I told her that I thought he was a young white man. He's like, I thought so. And I was like, that was really weird that he called and asked me that. So the next morning, I was doing my morning reading, and he sits down in front of me, and he's like, we have to talk. And so he told me that there had been a letter floating around our neighborhood that had been posted in our mailroom that had said something about a racist profiling in the neighborhood. And so, of course, you throw racism into the mix, it gets really yucky. And that was the furthest thing from what it was, to the point of literally, we have a handwritten letter from the woman's house that I went to. I'm trying to get the Ring doorbell footage of me standing on the porch telling John when he asked, are you sure it wasn't a black man? And I said, I think it is a young white man. But she wrote a letter. She was like, I'm happy to speak on your behalf. You absolutely told me that you thought it was a white man. And so we had 2 days in a row, the letter was posted in the mailroom saying that there was a racist profiling, not mentioning our name, but it was in reference to that night. It was taken down 2 times. Followed 20 minutes home, and my car was broken into when I was at the store. And when I was a little girl, we had a man banging on our door and helicopters hovering over our home. So, did I overreact? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But I showed up at the door and I said that I was sorry 2 times. People are going as far as saying they're not genuine apologies, that I'm out to get them for whatever reason that is. I don't know how it could be twisted that way when I literally thought he was a white man. So I knew it wasn't going to stop there, but the Facebook page stuff was deleted. Not me ever asking for any of it to be deleted. I made a public apology to them through the video to a whole Facebook page of almost 500 residents in our neighborhood.
Hey, just want to interject again real quick to say, never do things like that. I understand that public perception and public opinion matters to a lot of people, but when you're dealing with a tense situation, the worst thing you could do is continuously go on social media and try to clean it up, because a lot of people on social media are not going to listen to that, and they're going to fixate on their emotions and not really look at any form of context or further detail around the situation. It should have ended like this. You went to those people who, you put in a bind, and you apologized, and you may have sounded sincere, and they didn't accept it, which is a normal human thing to do. I don't know who might have raised all of you, but just because you say a sorry doesn't mean the person you're saying it to is going to forgive and forget. They may, and that'll be nice, rosy cheek and rainbows, but some people won't do that whatsoever. Remember, I'm still traumatized by a bunch of people who beat me in Connect 4 in 2008. I'm never going to forgive them for cheating, nor am I going to forgive any black elder that played me in Uno, saw me about to bust their ass, and then cheated, because you niggas really don't like the fact that you are losing in Uno, a Mexican game. But you have people who won't forgive you, and that'll just be the end of it. And it's very unfortunate that someone, apparently it wasn't the family that you had this due to, that was going around posting that, hey, we had a racial profiling in this neighborhood, and you all did the due diligence to take it down, and even the people who you accused are vouching for you, and that should really be the end of it. It's unfortunate that that's happening. However, that's what goes on when things start to go viral on social media. They get blown past the point of actual civil discourse, and they go straight to motherfucking clown world.
And then I posted in the comments multiple times when people were just saying, disgusting and just tearing down our family's name. I once again came on and I said, if there's ever an opportunity to reconcile, I will. I'm so sorry I could have ever offended you. And so I've absolutely apologized multiple times. It's not been accepted. So now I woke up today and John starts sending me screenshots of people going on all of my social media channels. And I had to make my pages private on one of the videos of us talking about opening our store. There were over 360 comments, some of which absolutely were from our members, but I would say over 300 of them within a 10-minute span were from people coming to absolutely attack us, saying anything and everything you can imagine, from hating on my faith, tying that to racism and me not being who I say I am, to my family, to be on a lookout, to our business is destroyed, to you can imagine everything that's being said, to our direct messages, to my friends and members being messaged saying that I'm a racist, going as far as saying that I was trying to have a black man killed.
There's two things to say about this, and I'm going to go with the easiest one first. I do not care how mad you get about any fucking scenario. Messaging random family members about said subject matter that have no indication of what's going on in a full aspect or have anything to do with it at all does not help the conversation for you. I do not care. You can make any excuse in the book you want. I'm going to think you're a fucking weirdo. Your critiques and your criticisms belong with the individuals who actually do the thing worthy of criticism, not the people who have no ties to it in any capacity other than being blood related. You look stupid. Now, the second part of this, where she's sitting there saying, oh, they're accusing me of trying to get a black man killed. It's a strong accusation that has a little bit of weight behind it, considering there's a few instances throughout history where someone gets falsely accused of something and they end up dead, which has created the notion that you Karens are out to get a bunch of people arrested and or killed because you think that whiteness is your get out of jail free card to just start running around doing and saying things about how people accosted you in some way and they didn't do it whatsoever, which is why a lot of people are going to start recording their interactions with a lot of people in the future because they can't trust humanity worth a fuck, and they're going to be sitting here rumbling, stumbling, and tumbling to make sure they got evidence to hopefully help them out in a scenario where somebody's claiming that they did a Beacom Jokic stretch to their neck when they were just standing there out in public.
That was commented a few times to people texting me personally, calling me a racist pig, our direct messages, our other businesses, Crave is being attacked, and every business platform, my Facebook ratings, everything is being attacked right now. So, everybody keeps asking for a public apology, and I wanted to get ahead of it. I don't want to just stay quiet, but I did shut my pages to private. I've explained to my Instagram exactly what I'm explaining to y'all. I absolutely am so sorry that I didn't think more of how they possibly could have felt in the moment and my reaction.
I'm going to hold everyone's hand when I say this. The public don't need no fucking apology because a lot of us don't even know about this thing until now. Some of you didn't even know about this until you watched this video, and you're not going to care about it in the next 4 days because something even stupider is going to come up, and I'll be right there to make sure that I talk about that as well. Subscribe to the channel, by the way. And I've never really gotten behind the idea that the public needs an apology over something that was between at least 2 to 5 people. And honestly, I've said it at least 3 times. I'm going to say it a 4th. If the people you apologize to that you had this happen to in this interaction with don't forgive you, well, they just don't forgive you. The public not forgiving you or forgiving you is not going to help that situation. It's not going to better it. It's not even going to make it worse. It's just going to be, hey, even though this is happening and you're being accused, we're going to handwrite a letter saying, yeah, we don't really think that this was racist, but we're still not going to forgive you for what you had us deal with for a couple minutes, if not maybe a couple hours. That's really the end of it. The public even still is going to hate you. Even a couple months from now, this is going to be something people look at and be like, remember when this person accused a realtor of stalking and following her, and when he said that this was his house, she didn't believe? You're going to be a memory come 6 months, and at the end of the year, someone's going to think about you and be like, oh, I wonder where you are, like that fucking cop who had all the interactions sexually with all her cop buddies, and I think she won a settlement over that because I guess that was something that occurred, but I don't have full detail around that. So if I'm wrong about that, one of you will correct me because I know you desperately want to correct me about something. But seeking the gratification of the public who already hates you is the most dangerous, or rather the second most dangerous, because the first dangerous is trusting people. The second most dangerous game you could do, because they're already going to have their opinions, and no amount of you crying or being sincere or maybe even pretending to be sincere to get a bunch of people off your back is going going to stop them from saying, that lady is evil, that lady is a racist, that lady sucks in general because of this example whatsoever, and how dare she. They're going to think about that for a long time until they get bored and move on to the next racist incident that they could bring up and fixate on, because that's the weird cycle of how the internet has progressed into this open battle royale of stupid shit until we all get bored, take a break, and then come back to the sandbox for more stupid shit.
I'm not trying to play the victim. Very few people have truly said they can't, putting themselves in my shoes, and it does make me angry. It does, if I'm being completely honest, and I'm trying to be so slow to speak. And I have said multiple times how stupid I felt. I even looked at him, like I said, when he came out on the porch. And I said, oh my gosh, this was your house. And I said, I kept thinking to myself, what if this is his house? But pulling up behind me, whether it's to look at your Christmas lights or not, I didn't know that. All I knew was it was dark. I had my kids. You're talking to me. You're continuing to talk to me. Now you're backing in this driveway. And then I asked if it was his house. And he said, yeah. I didn't believe it at that point. This was getting so awkward. I just continued to feel like I was getting pursued more and more. It had nothing to do with the color of his skin. He could have been purple, orange, whatever. He was a man in a truck pursuing me. The tone of his voice was not welcoming or comforting at all.
I can't in good conscience take the rest of this shit seriously, because you just sat there and said, I'm not trying to play the victim, yet you recount the story again and add new details of, oh, his voice wasn't comforting, it wasn't welcoming, it made me feel very scared. You are trying to find some way to make this rational for everybody else. And I'm sorry, it's not really going to be the case, because we see in the video, you're scared. We get that. And we see, you ask him, does he live here? We hear him say yes. We hear you say, don't believe you, and you scurry off into the distance. You had people tell you, that's a black family that lives there, and you still didn't buy into it. Your husband comes and he says, are you sure it's not a black man who, told you about that? And you're still adamant it's some scrawny white dude, or maybe even a muscular white man, because those white men, when they get the gym, they work out just a little bit. And I understand you have all these fears, but you need to stop fucking talking. I know it's the hardest thing under the sun for everybody, especially when they have cameras and they, get a following on social media. It's difficult for them to stop talking in front of fucking cameras and microphones, but you will be better off. And I know this may sound harsh, and maybe people won't agree with me, but when you're fighting the beast that is social media and their public opinions, which 99% of the time are never sound, the best thing you can do is shut the fuck up, because the more you talk, the more you make this shit dumber for nobody but you. It is unfortunate that people are running around ruining the reputation of your business. It is unfortunate that in the public eye of your neighborhood, you are public enemy number 2, because the HOA is going to be public enemy number 1. And it's unfortunate that you, in a moment of a little bit of confusion and fear, decided to not believe someone when they told you that it was their house. And I'm certain you got every example under the sun of past experiences and past examples, much like these people with the public opinion have examples of people dying or being punished for things that they didn't do, because someone claimed that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time when they were in the right place at the right time, just around the wrong end of fucking vigil. And I guess I could end the video much like this. I don't feel safe trusting human beings if I am on my casual strolls and someone's claiming that as I walk up to my apartment door that this is not my apartment, and then I have to deal with interacting with more people, which will make me very uncomfortable. And might I add, this is why men choose the fucking bear. Subscribe to the channel. I will see you all in the next one. Mwah! Goodbye.